Hey, I'm Mila, and you're listening to Mind Cues. Hi, I'm Mila. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Mind Cues. Today we're going to be talking about the disappearance of Bobby Dunbar. Let me put on my glasses. Okay, let's get started. So, Robert Clarence Dunbar, also known as Bobby, was the firstborn son to Leslie and Percy Dunbar of Opelousas, Louisiana. He also had a younger brother named Alonzo. Bobby was born in April of 1908. In August 1912, the Dunbars took a fishing trip to nearby Swayze Lake in St. Landry Parish, Louisiana. One day into their trip, Bobby disappeared. He had been playing by the swampy lake, but by the time the fish was fried for lunch, he was nowhere to be seen. All anyone could find was a short trail of a baby's footprints that ended abruptly in the mud near the lake. Searchers dragged and dynamited the lake, but they found no trace of a body. They considered the horrifying but likely possibility that alligators got Bobby. When hunters shot and sliced open several of the enormous reptiles to look into their bellies, they found no human remains. The boy was just gone. He could have been in a different alligator's belly, right? They killed several alligators. It doesn't mean they killed them all. As August came to a close, Percy and Leslie Dunbar were convinced that their eldest son had been kidnapped and was still alive. So this is their mind. They have no proof of this. He could have been eaten by an alligator. A $6,000 reward prompted a flurry of sightings of blonde, blue-eyed boys in the company of people who did not look like blood relatives. The William Burns Detective Agency and a psychic joined the hunt. Newspapers picked up the story, spreading the word across the country. 8 months passed before there was a credible lead. People in Mississippi spotted a boy fitting Bobby's description with William Cantwell Walters, who worked as an itinerant handyman. In layman's terms, a nomad, somebody who just moves around. He specialized in tuning and repairing pianos and organs. Walters had been traveling through Mississippi in a tinted wagon with a boy who appeared to match the description of Bobby Dunbar. He fit the description. Walters, arrested for kidnapping, told police that the boy was really Bruce Anderson, the illegitimate son of his brother, and Julia Anderson, a girl who had worked for the family, and that she had willingly granted him custody. Walter said, "I could not see the girl and my brother disgraced, so I took the little one away." He kidnapped him. Walters maintained that his family's servant gave him the boy as a traveling companion. Oh my. Is this child trafficking? Already sent for the Dunbars to come to Mississippi and attempt to identify the boy. Percy and Leslie Dunbar rushed to Mississippi to see if the child was their lost son. According to some press accounts, Leslie gazed into his sleeping face and said, "I don't know, I'm not sure." The boy's reaction was also unexpected. He woke up, took one look at the people around him, and started to scream. One newspaper said that the boy immediately shouted, "Mother!" upon seeing her, and then the two embraced. There were similar contradictions in newspaper accounts of the boy's first sighting of the Dunbar's younger son, Alonzo. One newspaper claimed that the boy recognized him instantly, called him by name, and kissed him. Sure. And another newspaper, the boy showed no sign of recognizing Alonzo, who's supposedly his younger brother. The boy went missing. 8 months later, they claim he's like, "Mother!" and that he recognizes the brother and calls him by name and gives him a kiss. This is fake news! The next day, after bathing the boy, Leslie Dunbar said she positively identified his moles and scars and was certain that he was her son. She gives him a bath and is like, "Yeah, this is my son." Yeah, right. So Julia Anderson from North Carolina went to Mississippi and declared that the child was hers, even though she couldn't identify him on first sight either. Isn't that crazy? Anderson was presented with 5 different boys who were of the same approximate age as her son, including the boy who had been claimed by the Dunbars. When the boy in question was presented, he reportedly gave no indication that he recognized her. There was a lineup of 5 boys, and she couldn't tell which one was her son. So basically, she said, "Is this the boy that you guys found?" And they didn't tell her. And she was like, "I'm not sure." Girl, this is your child. Anderson was unmarried and worked as a field hand for Walter's family. She said that she had allowed Walters to take her son only for what was supposed to be a 2-day trip to visit one of Walter's relatives. She further asserted that she had not consented for Walters to take her son for more than a few days. He said she gave him custody. Upon seeing the boy again the next day, when she was allowed to undress him, she indicated a stronger certainty that the boy was indeed her son Bruce. In my heart, she said, I know it's Bruce. What is with both of these mothers? They have to see the little boy naked to determine if that's their child? What about their face? I digress. Word had already spread about her failure to positively identify him on the first attempt. This, combined with the fact that newspapers questioned her moral character and having had 3 children out of wedlock, this led to Anderson's claim being dismissed. Oh my gosh, that's sad. With no money to sustain a long court battle, Anderson returned home to North Carolina. The boy returned to Opelousas with the Dunbars. Their hometown of Opelousas declared a holiday with brass bands, parades, and parties for hundreds of well-wishers from all over the region. The Dunbars brought Bobby home on April 25th, 1913. Julia Anderson later returned to Louisiana for Walter's kidnapping trial to attest to his innocence and push for the court to determine that the boy was her son. At the trial, she became acquainted with the residents of the town of Poplarville, Mississippi, with a number of them asserting that they had seen Walters with the boy prior to the disappearance of Bobby Dunbar. But despite their testimony, the court reached the determination that the boy was in fact Bobby Dunbar. Because Miss Dunbar said that that was her son, and because Julia Anderson at first wasn't sure if he was her son or not, and because she had had multiple other kids before that, they were basically like, he's going to the Dunbars. That is crazy. Julie Anderson had came forth and declared that the child was hers. She said the baby was the result of a moment of weakness with a traveling salesman who gave her $5 and disappeared. Oh, girl, he left the money on the dresser and dip. Oh my gosh. Anderson testified that she was the child's mother, but no one believed her. She was poor, coarse. What does that mean? And had given birth to 2 other out-of-wedlock babies who both died, so it was easy to question her credibility. The nerve. Walters was found guilty of kidnapping, a crime that could have sent him to the gallows. Instead, the judge sentenced him to prison for life. The conviction was later overturned on a technicality. No, it wasn't a technicality. After Walters had served 2 years of his prison term for kidnapping, his attorney was successful in appealing the conviction, and Walters was granted the right to a new trial. But due to excessive costs of the first trial, the prosecutors in Opelousas declined to try him again and instead released him. You accuse this man of kidnapping a child, give him life in prison. He gets an appeal, and instead of retrying the case, you let him go? They knew they were wrong in the first place. The only thing that would explain that is that they convicted an innocent man. That's a shame. Walters went free in 1915. He died April 7th, 1945 of blood poisoning and was buried in Pueblo, Colorado beside his wife. Here's the thing. This is not his child. This is his brother's illegitimate child, and he's just like traveling around with him. Walters always maintained his innocence regarding the kidnapping charge. After the trial, the people of Poplarville welcomed Julia Anderson, and she began a new life there, eventually marrying and having 7 children. According to her descendants, she became a devout Christian, helped found a church, and served as a nurse and midwife to the small community. Way to go! She turned her life around. Although her children indicated that her life was a happy one after settling in Poplarville, they said that she spoke often of her lost son, and that their family always regarded him as having been kidnapped by the Dunbars. He sure was. Bobby grew up, married, and carved out a pleasant, successful life. He and his wife raised 3 children. In 1932, reporters covering the kidnapping of the Limber baby interviewed Bobby. A lot of people still believe I was eaten by an alligator. I can assure you, I was not. One time, Bobby's son asked him if he really knew who he was. He said, "I know who I am, and I know who you are, and nothing else matters." Bobby appeared to have had his doubts all along and secretly sought out and visited the Andersons. He died in 1966 of heart disease. Years and years later, after Bobby Dunbar's death, one of his granddaughters, Margaret Dunbar Cutright, began her own investigation into the events to prove that her grandfather was in fact a Dunbar. However, in 2004, after an AP reporter approached the family about the story, Bob Dunbar Jr. consented to undergoing a DNA test to solve the issue. Bobby and Alonzo both had sons, and those sons took a DNA test. So basically, two cousins took a DNA test, and they showed that they were not related. Since the DNA testing is conclusive, the fate of the real Bobby Dunbar remains unknown. Look at that. Those people kidnapped that boy from that lady. DNA testing revealed that Bobby was related to the Andersons. So the results brought joy to Julia Anderson's family as a vindication of her claims, as well as to William Walter's family as an exoneration of the kidnapping accusation against him. The real Bobby Dunbar most likely fell into the lake during the fishing trip and was eaten by an alligator. That is a shame. That's the end of that. Well, that's my cue. Until next time, survive your mind.